Hi everybody, welcome to this Expert Division playthrough, tailwind angles only for the Easter Equinox 18-hole cup. Please give me a thumb up on the video if you don't mind, and subscribe to the channel as well. These wind angles here are general but all feature tailwind, but all of the wind strengths are particular to Expert Division, so should help you get prepared with some additional shots for this tournament. Timestamps in the description down below, and remember some of the shots are from old tournaments before the ball attribute levels changed. Remember to tweak according to your club's balls and play style. Good luck, here we go. Almost straight tailwind, so we're going to go with the berserker, stretch out to absolute max with the berserker, and you'll see the bullseye is just between the rough line and the bunker. Then I'm going to add spin, 5.8 top spin, 2 bars side spin to the left. So that reference, of course, stretching out was with APOC 5 plus. Adjustment is max plus 10, power 5 settings, and the push-up is going to vary depending what wind you have. 11.1, so just higher than midway. I'm going to push up here 3 yards, which takes me to plus 5. Lower wind, you will need more push-up. Higher wind, I would leave it where it is for anything above 11.5 miles per hour. If you get low wind with a berserker, 9.4, 9.5, I would actually switch to a wind 0 ball if you can. Going with max overpower, slightly slower needle if you have more wind, and of course a bit of curl to the left. And we get to a drive of 443. On the odd occasion, you may not roll out as much as that, so you may need to improvise this second shot. But I've had good success with this one so far, and it is a wind angle we've had before on this hole. Second shot, we're going to do a rough check in line with the pin. And you can see here, plus 8 with the bullseye directly over the rough line with the thorn is going to equal 18% on the sliders. That's RC plus 10% on the notepad, rough check plus 10. Then we add spin, plenty of back spin, a little bit of side spin to the left, and then we want the red ring touching the beginning of the fringe with the bull guide through the hole. Don't worry about that because you're going to adjust to a slightly higher point, which is going to put your landing position nearer the fringe where you get a shorter rollout on the ball. So this has been factored in to the shot. So plus 8 rough check, 18% on the slider, 10% elevation, pull it over the bullseye on this one. And obviously it's 2% per yard difference. If you have a rough check of, for example, plus 6, you are nearer, so you will play 14% slider. Perfect ball there, and it drops very nicely for an eagle. And it's going to be the quarterback here, and we want to make use of the slope to the left and above the pin and get the ball to roll back down for our hole in one. Blue ring touching the bricks is my reference in most wind angles, and in the video here I'm going with 4 backspin and half a bar of side spin to the left. If you have level crosswind, I would suggest you go with a little bit less backspin, probably around 3 to 3.5 bars, depending on wind angle. Finding our position, then we are going to adjust medium distance, 15% elevation. Medium distance, 15% elevation. And the plan here will be to bounce on the main piece of fairway. We hit perfect, of course, bouncing once on the main piece of fairway right now. Then we take a little hop over the island, second bounce on the green, backspin steadies us up, approaches left of pin, and uses that slope to roll back down towards the hole. As a very, very useful slope there, which we want to really take advantage of. Gives us the best chance for a hole in one. I'm going to show you the layup option, which is definitely better for a more general purpose, and also for different wind angles as well. I like the quarterback or the rock for the drive, and I want to lay up on this piece of fairway on the right hand side, as you can see just on the screen right now, and use backspin to control the ball. We want to use the quarterback or the rock for the accuracy and also the ball guide when it comes to positioning ourselves for the approach, as there's still a lot of distance to cover. Power 5 ball is a must on this hole to prevent you from needing a load of overpower and potentially risking the water or the sand on the approach. Mine a great ball here, but it doesn't matter. I'm still getting the ball where I want to be, and the adjustment in this case was max plus 15. In tailwind, you might want to go max plus 20 just to compensate for the extra wind push. Second shot is going to be with the Cataclysm or the Big Dog. You can actually use the Horizon here as well if you have lower level clubs. Now we're using max plus 40 here because it is massively downhill and there's also crosswind as well. which is going to affect the path of the ball slightly more. Setting up with top spin and left spin, I don't want to set up too close to the bunker here. The primary objective, of course, is just to get on the green to secure the eagle. Very tough to get an albatross unless you're going to go super aggressive on the drive on the left-hand side from the tee. There is a chance with a sniper, but you're still going to need a power 5 ball. Max plus 40 is the adjustment. We hit perfect on this one. If the adjustment takes you down into the water, I would suggest pushing up half a ring to 1 ring to compensate for the loss of distance. We get a zoom in here, just skim the left edge. Very lucky to be that close. But we got the putt for the eagle, which is the priority on this tough par 5. On this par 4, we're going to play Apoc followed by Thorn and a power 3 ball, Kingmaker preferred. Red ring touching the rough on the right at plus 10, top of plus 10 that is, with Apoc 5 and 6. Adding spin, 5.8 top spin and 3 left spin. If you've got Apoc 4, you will be at P3 max rest and you will have 20% of the red ring overlapping the rough. Adjustment here is maximum distance with 10% elevation, and then we are going to take our shot. You don't have to use a precision ball here, just using it to speed up the content creation process. 2 balls of curl to the left, just before circle drop as our overpower reference. And then look at the tip of the triangle vertically aligned with the base of the tee for your curl reference there. Drive distance, you're going to be around 360 to 365 yards. Second shot, find the minimum distance line with your thorn, and then we are going to count up rings from min. We're going to add 1 bar of backspin first, and then I'm pushing up from the min line. There's 4 rings, and in the end I push up another 2 rings, and I just want to have, really, with the spin added, of course, the ball guide just going to the front of the cup. So aiming right at the pin with the ball guide, but they're just going to the front of the cup. 6 rings from min. We're going to play it 6% slider, and it's 0 elevation. It's 1% slider per ring up from min. Pulling over the bullseye. More information on rings from min and pulling over the bullseye on our Academy tutorials. Playlist is on the channel homepage. Centre the ball and hit perfect. You're going to bounce before the green and roll nicely in for the eagle. Hole in one here. Before spin, we're going to go with the sniper and the blue ring touching the rough there, the top of the blue ring, with the ball guide going through the hole. Then I am adding my spins here, and you can see we're going to go with 2.8 bars of backspin. You could actually set spins with a basic ball to avoid any unwanted side spin, but you don't have to do that. It all depends how you are feeling with the time available. Aiming more or less at the pin, maybe 1 click to the right, just having a look at the zoom in there. Try and replicate it as best you can and put in some wind angle tweaks or 2 if necessary. Adjustment is medium distance, 20% elevation, and we're playing with power 3 settings, and always, regardless of your club level, you're going to use sniper 10 numbers. We've made our adjustment, we centre the ball and hit perfect, and then this is coming in very nicely, and we'll drop for a hole in one. This is middle wind strength and middle wind angle. On this par 5, we're going to suggest you go with a berserker to make this one easier. Half of the red ring inside the rough with Apoc 5 and 6 at the top of plus 24. Then I'm adding 0.4 backspin and 1 bar side spin to the left, adjusting max plus 10 P5. With Apoc 4, you will be at P5 max distance, and you will have around 70% of the red ring inside the rough because your ring sizes are bigger. Full overpower, slow needle, try and hit perfect. Great left with lower accuracy clubs may catch the rough, as may a great right. So try and hit perfect on this one. Take a token or 2, get familiar, but you want full overpower. Bounce over the hazards to around 380 yards. Second shot, it's all about getting to green safely. You may need to vary the spins depending on your drive, but as a rule, 2 backspin and 1 left spin, and then stretch out and look at the second bounce. You want it to be just before the edge of the rough, kind of in between the top of the bunker and the edge of the rough there as a guide. But like I said, you might need to tweak this one, especially if you're playing with a different wind resistance ball. So look at how many rings I was stretching out, so you're going to need to push up after you adjust. The adjustment here, max plus 10 on this one. And the idea is we miss the rough and just bounce after it, and the backspin will grab and the ball will roll nicely on the green. So max plus 10, P5, pushing up the amount that I was stretching out into to find my initial aim point. And then we take our shot, try and hit perfect, of course, especially with these distance wood clubs that don't have the accuracy. Go with the big dog or the cataclysm, whichever you feel is best for you. Clearing the rough just nicely there, don't want to push it any closer than that. And we're going to have an easy putt for the eagle. And regardless of the wind direction, I want to play to that small pad of fairway up ahead on the screen right now. And this is going to be achieved by using topspin and deliberately aiming the second bounce in the rough. And the topspin, as you can see with the ball guide from the rock here, is going to get us out onto the middle of that pad. So we're playing with topspin, setting up as follows, and then adjustment is max plus 20. If you don't have the rock level 9, you can then, of course, go with the extra mile or Thor's Hammer or Apocalypse and just look at the second bounce to mimic that rather than the full ball guide that I have, or rather the longer ball guide with the rock level 9. Max plus 20, hit perfect on this one, and it bounces over, rolls into the rough and rolls out nicely. This drive is very consistent due to the fairway design, and you're always going to be around 340 yards. Second shot, unless you've got a high-level B52, you're going to be wanting to go with the Goliath for the distance. Otherwise, you will be in between clubs. So we're going to find our position with the bullseye in the middle of the rough. Then we're going to go with left spin, 3 bars of left spin, and a little bit of backspin to get the ball guide to the pin. Obviously, if you have headwind angle here, you might want to alter your drive distance slightly so that you can play either from the minimum distance line with the sniper, in which case go with less topspin on the drive, or you go, of course, with a different power ball or maybe a different long iron as well. But we don't want to be in between clubs. So headwind, you can either push the drive and then have room to adjust with the Goliath, or you go with a shorter drive and then go with sniper from the min line or rings from min. True club distance, 0 elevation in this case, so I was looking at the plus yardage displayed and deducting 2% slider per yard away from max distance of the Goliath with a power 3 ball. But it all depends what club and ball you're using, but a very, very nice chance there for an eagle with that rough bump. There is a safer rough bump on the left of the bunkers with the sniper, but for the best chance of a hole in one, you've got to go aggressive in between the bunkers. Plenty of backspin, 1 bar side spin to the right. I'm using a wind 5 ball here. They help massively if you're playing this shot, because you don't want to be adjusting too many rings, because you're going to go down into the bunker a lot, or you're going to go up the hill or onto the green. Both of them are going to cause complications with setting up. So I would advise you to take a token and try and dial this one in if you want to go with this approach. Mid plus 10, using the rocket for the backspin, and with spin added, I'm setting up with the ball guide offset left of the cup intentionally. We hit perfect. This will catch the rough very nicely there. We've got room for a minor great left or great right, but not always on this shot. It can be a little bit tricky, but it falls beautifully for a hole in one. So if you want to go aggressive, that is the best chance. If not, it's going to be with the sniper on the left of the bunkers. Play with topspin and use the slope on the green to get you down towards the pin. We've got a nice wind angle here. We're going to go aggressive and set up a rough bump for the second shot. 6 topspin, 2 bars side spin to the right. I add spin first. Stretch out to absolute max and look at the ball guide. You want it just over the edge of the rough, up ahead on the left of that narrow bottleneck area of fairway. I push adjust my rings here because as pretty as the flowers are, they are in the way and they obscure the view when you're pulling your rings. So push this one, max plus 20, and then we are going to take our shot. I'm not going to push anything up here at all because I want to slow a needle when I'm going full overpower. Power 4 or power 5 ball is advisable in crosswind or headwind because you can then still go max overpower without having a really shaky needle. Better chance of hitting perfect. Ball travels very nicely down the fairway. We want distance here. Drive distance of over 410 yards is excellent. Second shot, if you don't want to play the rough bump and the associated technical difficulties, then please just bounce over with backspin and left spin. You can still catch the funnel bouncing on the fairway that rolls down to the pin. If you want to go with the rough bump, though, it takes a second bounce out of the equation and increases your drop percentage. So a little bit of backspin, and the left spin will vary depending where you are on the drive. and we want to make sure we're in that sticky spot where the ball guide doesn't really move around much, but it's going to go through the hole. And the reason for that is I'm going to adjust down into the bunker, and it's going to cause me to lose distance and pace on the ball. I played a fringe check here. This was from a previous tournament. +7 fringe check. This is played at 60% slider, minus 10% elevation. Because I adjust into the bunker, I push up 1 ring after I've adjusted. Otherwise, you're going to fall dramatically short and may not make it out of the rough. Perfect ball away here in different wind directions. This doesn't really need too much elevation at all, between 0 and -10 elevation, but we catch the rough nicely and it drops for a lovely albatross. Good chance on this par 3 in all wind angles, particularly tailwind. I'm going to be playing with the sniper and having the blue ring touching the beginning of the fringe where it meets the rough. Your spins are going to vary depending on the wind angle, but as a starting point I would be looking at 1 bar of top spin, maybe a couple of clicks more, and then you want to apply right spin to catch that little groove on the left hand side of the green. You can see if we land further right, the ball guide will point further left, and so on. So when you're tweaking this shot, just bear that one in mind. If you are under adjusting in this wind angle, then obviously it's going to send the ball guide the opposite way, just because of how the green reacts. So bear that one in mind. Due to the slopes, that's what's going to happen. The adjustment I would go with here is 1-to-1, which is what I do in the video. We would need to just tweak the aim rather, in that case, tweaking the spin to aim the ball guide rather than move the target, although you could try moving the target as well. Catching the slope, but just needed a little bit of a tweak there to get that to drop, but the speed and the principle was very nice. Lovely NMT shot here with the katana, and we're going to stick with the katana here. 5.2 top spin and 3 left spin. So NMT with your APOC and a power 2 ball. Adjust max +20 power 2 numbers. Now, if you have APOC 4, and only if you have APOC 4, after you adjust, you would then need to push up 1.7 rings. That's to compensate for having 6 yards less power. But even if you have APOC 4, you've still got a slow needle, full overpower, 2 balls of left curl. Look at the base of the tee, aligned with the inner tip of the triangle. Hit perfect. You're either going to clear the rough completely and roll out for a short wedge, as I do in the video, or worst case scenarios, you clip the rough, but you will still roll out for an Embringer wedge, usual elevation 20%. I'm going to show you an aggressive shot here, but it does need some tweaking according to wind angle to try and get to the green in 2, but it's by no means easy. This is a P10 NMT shot with the APOC and a berserker. 3.5 top spin, 2 bars left spin. Obviously this will vary depending how much tailwind you have, because in straight tailwind you will need to dial the top spin back because the wind will push you too far. So just bear that in mind. You do need to tweak all of this. This is max +10, full overpower. It is going to be a shaky needle with this kind of more crosswind, but the second bounce there in the middle of the rough, and then we're going to roll out to the middle of the fairway. Drive distance 390. Second shot, this is a very, very risky shot if you do not practice. You've got to really practice this one, but this is going to be a slice. We are going here with half a bar of backspin and half a bar of right spin, stretching out to have the red ring touching the rough. Now, I needed more backspin here, so I would play with 1 bar of backspin instead in this wind angle. But bear in mind, you will have to tweak the adjustment and the amount of rings moved according to your wind angle. In this wind angle, I move 22 rings to the left and then go with a full overpower, full curl slice. It will vary depending on the club you're using. This is only to give you an idea of a way that you can aggressively reach the green on this very long par 5 in 2. Max top spin with the extra mile level 9. If you've got APOC 7 and above, obviously play with that instead because it's more accurate. 2 bars right spin, stretch out to the power 3 max extension, have the ball guide pointing right down the middle of the fairway. Then we're going to go max +10, and for a 9.8 mile per hour wind, I'm going to push this one up 1.5 rings with the extra mile 9. Different ring sizes for APOC though, so make sure you do a conversion if you're using that club. I would try and keep the wind below 10 miles per hour here. A bit of curl is shown, and then it's full overpower, slow needle. You can see there any more wind on that and I might be going into the water, so be careful on the push up. Take a token or two if you want to get a feel for different wind strengths, but 9.8 is probably the limit of where I'd want it to be, really, with a Titan. Second shot with a Thorn, going to do a WRPC, that well-known golf clash abbreviation. It stands for White Ring Pin Check. So move your white ring to the pin as I did in the video. Look at the plus yards displayed. Then we're adding spin, a little bit of backspin, 2 bars side spin to the right, because I don't want to be aiming any closer to the bunker than I need to. Ball guide to the hole, and then for a +1 white ring pin check, I'm going 54% slider, 15% elevation. Information is on the notepad there on the screen as well. Pulling over the bullseye for accuracy, and also because that's how the adjustment is worked. So make sure you do the same. Otherwise, you might just burn the edge if you don't pull over the bullseye. Perfect ball away, bounces very, very nicely there, and we're dropping it for the eagle. So even though it's extra mile 9, slower needle, good chance of hitting perfect, but if you've got a more accurate driver with the top spin, then obviously you should use that instead. Very difficult hole anyway to get consistency on, but nice adjustment here. 7.5 backspin, 1.5 left spin, playing at max distance with a power 3 ball using the rocket level 10. Half of the red ring falling into the bunker on the right. Add spin and the ball guide will look like that. Recommended to keep the wind between 6.5 and 8 miles per hour. So the adjustment here going to be max +15, power 0 settings, favour 11.59 on the pull. This is a very, very touchy shot though on a difficult par 3, so if you do get a drop here, consider it a real bonus. Perfect ball here, bounces nicely in front of the bunker, just going to miss on the right hand side for a decent look at this very tricky par 3. And we're going to play with the rock here in headwind. I would set up with the rock and then switch to the extra mile or the apocalypse, and we want to go for a double bounce in headwind, clearing the rough or just clipping the rough and rolling out. In tailwind, of course, we can play with the rock without worrying about a club switch, but I'm adding top spin, second bounce on the fairway, third bounce there, you can see just before the end of the rough, and the ball guide is showing it is going to roll out onto the fairway. And in similar fashion to hole 4, that's what I want to do. I want to use the rough to control the rollout on the ball. Sure, you can send it here, but the fairway strips are narrow and you may well end up in the rough. So this is a consistent way to attack the pin for the albatross, even in a good wind angle. Max +30 on this one, and that would be an adjustment I go with regardless of wind angle, because this one is massively downhill. And you can see there, the rough is just dampening the progression of the ball, and we get a nice rollout here, 351 yards. Second shot in a nasty wind angle, you're just going to play safely to green with backspin and the cataclysm bouncing on the fairway. But with a good wind angle, we want to go aggressive with the rough bump. But be warned, there's quite a lot of steps to do. Add spin first, little bit of top spin, little bit of side spin to the right. It will vary depending where you are on your drive. And we want to set up with the sniper for the ball guide, and also club accuracy, having the ball guide going here just to the right of pin. That's because the wind will push us slightly to the left according to the wind angle I've got here. Looking at the plus yardage, +4 is going to be 80% slider, 2.5% per yard away from max, and max is +12 with the sniper 10 and a power 3. So 80% slider, 10% elevation. Crucial step here though, allow yourself time. We have to pull back a couple of rings. That's because we are just up the hill, and that will gain distance on our aim point. If you do not pull back, you will miss the rough completely and it won't end well. So make sure you allow enough time. So the pull back there means we're just catching the rough in the right place, and we drop it for an albatross. I recommend you play no movement target here on this par 3. So load the hole with the sniper and the kingmaker, and that is where we are going to aim, where the game loads your target. We are adding a spin depending on wind angle. Here I'm going with 0.5 top spin, and you can see right spin as needed to offset the ball guide about a green square and a half to the right of the pin. If you've got wind angle coming in the other direction, then obviously I'll be using left spin and offsetting the correct amount left of the pin. Straight tailwind, going to need a couple of clicks less top spin and aiming at the pin, and so on. So you're just offsetting depending on how much crosswind you have. Adjustment is medium distance with 20% elevation, and we're using power 6 numbers to match the ball that I am using. Centering the ball hitting perfect, and you're going to see this bounces very nicely before the water, and the top spin takes us nicely over, not threatening the hazard. Second bounce on the green, tracking along that green square column and dropping right at the pin. Finding our position with the quarterback here, white ring touching the rough, the bottom of the white ring touching the rough at P3 max. I would suggest you turn the camera around to this kind of side-on view to get the position. Then we switch to our Apocalypse and Thorn bag and add spin. 5.8 top spin, 2 bars left spin. Then the adjustment here is going to be max plus 0, power 3 settings. So max plus 0, power 3. Now, if you don't want to do rings from min on the second shot, if that isn't for you, then instead you can write down drive distance instead. So you've got a couple of references. Kind of rings from min is the most accurate though, as this isn't a completely linear hole. Perfect ball away, no overpower, no curl. And it's going to bounce over very nicely, not threatening the rough or the sand. And the drive distance here is going to be in the region of 350 yards. Now we're going to count rings from min, but first I'm adding 0.4 backspin. Finding the min line and then counting rings from min, and you want to count up until you have the ball guide just to the front edge of the cup. There's 5, there is 10, and in the end I go with another 4 rings to have the ball guide as shown. You can see they're just going to the front edge of the cup. Now in the video here I went with 0 elevation and unfortunately missed this one as this was under adjusted. Pull this one over the bullseye. It's 1% slider per ring from min. So 14 rings from min, going 14% slider. But rather than 0 in the video, I would like you, as is on the notepad, to go with 5% elevation. That would be my suggested tweak based on the miss in the video. As I said, perfect ball, sadly just under adjusted here, but 5% elevation should get you in. If you are enjoying the free content here on the channel and want to help out and keep everything free, then please consider making a small donation. All donations are gratefully received and help me out here on the channel, as all of the content here is produced for free in my own spare time. You can do that in one of 3 ways. You can hit the thanks button here on YouTube, you can make a PayPal donation via the link in the description down below, or you can also join us over on Patreon. Details at the end of the video. Max plus 10 on the drive is the adjustment, and we're going with 3 bars of left spin and 3.5 top spin. We don't need much here because you don't want to roll into the rough. You will need the big dog or the cataclysm for your second shot. Red ring touching the rough on the left at the top of plus 10 with APOC 5 and 6. APOC 4, 20% of the red ring overlapping the rough at P3 max rest. Adjust maximum distance with 10% elevation, and then it's time to take our shot. We're going with a 1.5 ball curl to the left, just before the circle drops as our overpower reference. You can see the ball there is touching the bottom outside tip of the triangle. So there's your reference for your curl. Hit perfect, bouncing very nicely, clearing the rough there and not threatening the rough here. We're nicely on the fairway, 344 yards. Now you might need to tweak the spins based on your drive here, but I'm looking at having around 2.2 top spin, and you can see going with all the left spin, and I'm looking at having the second bounce 1 ring beyond the rough. I'm setting up deliberately before max distance of my club, around 3 yards before, just to give myself room to adjust. Regardless of that though, I'm playing this one just a basic elevation of max plus 0. I'm not worried about any slider here. I just want to get it to the green. I adjust into a bit of overpower here, so I'm going to add that onto my shot. Still going to give me a decent chance of hitting perfect, and I'm using 1/2 ball of curl to the left. And the idea here, like I say, it's just to get to green safely for the eagle. You might need to tweak the top spin based on your drive rollout, and you can see there safely on the green, and we're putting for our eagle on this tough par 5. Thanks very much for watching this video here on the channel. If it has helped you in any way, please consider sharing it amongst your friends and clanmates in the game. Join us also on Facebook. Head over there, search for BK Golf Clash and join our free group. Loads of members there sharing shots. Free guides are posted, as well as loads of other great Golf Clash resources. So check us out there. You can join in the discussion and also leave feedback on the game in general. Finally, if you wish to help support the channel and keep the content free for everybody, please consider becoming a Patreon member. The link is in the video description down below. Good luck, see you soon, bye for now.